you do while I go ahead and start the intro. I'll talk to you guys in just a moment. All right, let's make this happen. All right, how you guys doing? All right, there we go. How you guys doing? How's everything? I'm still sharing it to a few people, but I wanted to introduce our guest today and bring him on. You guys know him. If you live in Broward County, you can't help but to know him. All right, David I Muir. He is, well, actually, David I Muir, aka Sexy Man, as he always likes to call himself. David, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Steve.
I can't hear you. There you
You
go.
mind? Okay. Is it better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, Mr. Sexy Man, how's everything going?
Everything is wonderful, Steve. Thanks for asking, and thanks for promoting my self acclaimed name as well. That's a wonderful thing.
So you and I have known each other so long. Normally, I'm not gonna call another man sexy man, but I've known you for how many years now? It's like
It's a
me and
lot of
David, we
years.
go way back.
We do.
We
Yeah.
go we go back before his dreads, and you can see his dreads along.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Way before the dreads. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say at least a decade of my memory, but I'm sure it's even longer than that. I just don't remember how far back we go, but I know it's been a long time.
yeah, it's been years. So, you have a new project coming up, and I really wanted to get to talk to you about that because, well, it's actually not a new project. It's something you guys have had in the making for a while, and I
We
want you
have.
to tell the viewers about that because this is to me, it's like mind blowing that no one of us did it before. It's so. Go ahead, tell us a little bit.
Absolutely. And I want to focus on the things that are important and easy to explain. It
Mm,
is a mind blowing project, but if we take it step by step, it won't be mind blowing to us, hopefully.
mm,
The undertaking is to create a Caribbean museum representing the entire Caribbean,
Mm,
meaning the English as well as the Spanish, as well as the French, as well as the Dutch. And really, everyone who is a part of the Caribbean should be represented by this monument to our cultures and our
mhm,
heritage and all of our history. Um, to best grasp the scope of what it is that we want to do, in the biggest picture, we want to tell the entire story from before the Europeans came, before the Africans came, from the very indigenous people of the Caribbean till today, and even projecting into tomorrow. So we want it to be something that is comprehensive and inclusive of all the stories, all of the
mhm,
things that took place, all the way through. And so this Caribbean Museum really is to be a testament to the greatness that is what comes from the Caribbean. Uh,
mm,
to go a little bit more into what will make it attractive and interesting, our goal is to really share all of the things that really make people attracted and entertained by our people. So that includes things, for example, like our, you know, shall I say, prowess, or the things that we have really shined at, things like music.
mhm.
Entertainment on a whole is actually important. The things that we have done with language, I talk about the French and the Spanish and the English and so on, but we have to talk about the various patois and creoles and all of those things that also came from the cultures that I speak of. Then we want to look also at our athletic prowess, the things that we've done, for example, West Indies cricket and its dominance over the world, things like track and field and the likes of the great sprinters and athletes that have come from all of the islands. Obviously, the new forms of music and the new instruments created from the Caribbean. All these things will make for an exciting museum, really
Mhm.
sharing all that is about the people from the islands.
So the museum is going to be something like a walkthrough, like let's say for example, when you go to the ones in Washington, you walk through and
Absolutely.
you see a whole chronological order of things, and so that's basically what we're looking at, correct?
Correct. You're absolutely right.
Okay, and I already have a space picked out in there for my exhibit, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, your journey to become a school board member in Broward County is
Uh-huh.
going to be something which obviously should be documented there, because these are the things that we have done historically that are going to matter to how our stories are told. So we will want to deal with all the little parts, like how is it that we now have the mayor of Broward County as a person born in Jamaica?
Right.
How do we have all of these things? How we have to document, you know, the first politician who is elected to office in Broward County being the first, sorry, let me rephrase that, the first African American, being from another island in his roots, and things of that nature. The first female and her roots up in Lauderdale Lakes. And those
Right.
types of things are going to be really, really critically a part of the excellence and the wonder of what it is to have been from the Caribbean, the roots that we bring, the culture, the heritage. Again, I'm going to stick to these parts because it's so interesting to me as one
Mhm.
who is from that region. And then, more to the point, I have children myself, and my
Mhm.
children's legacy is also part of this because they're first generation immigrants, and so their story is to be told here as well. And so the goal in this is not about David Muir, but it's about all people from the islands. So
Mhm.
whether you're from the Dominican Republic, or you're from Cuba, or from Haiti, or from Trinidad, or from Barbados, or even our adopted Caribbean nations like Guyana and Belize and
Mhm.
Bahamas that don't sit necessarily in the Caribbean Sea, but we
Right.
consider part of the Caribbean. It's their stories to be told as well.
And that's true. And I mean, and you know what? There's a lot of history. And I tell you something. When my daughter and I when we went to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, this was years ago before they opened up the African American museum up there.
Yeah.
When we went there, and she goes, "Dad, how comes they don't have one for slavery or anything like that?" And at the time, before they even opened that one, I'm like, "Well, sweetie, it's like." You can't have the people that created the atrocity, tried to put together, something saying we did something wrong. So, and then she was like, so why don't we do it ourselves? And from the mouth of babes, right? So it's like,
Correct.
and then a couple years later, the African American one opened up in Washington, and now here we go with one for for the Caribbean history, because it's true, we have done so much, and there's so much history. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had Captain Barrington Irvin on the show, and he told me to pass on his information to you. And so if you don't already have it, I'll give it to you afterwards. But because we definitely would need to have him in there as well.
Absolutely.
It's
The
like,
youngest to fly around the world at the time, first African American to do so. I mean, there's so many firsts for Barrington Irving. I remember very well when he was embarking on his trip and the wonders that we have seen as a result, and now his aviation school and all that he's doing. So,
mhm.
absolutely, without question, we will need to be talking with him about his inclusion. Um, but I think this is important that we note, Steve, that the key is we want not just the ones that are obvious. And I think, to me, Captain Irvin is an obvious addition. But I
Mhm.
do believe that what is equally important is for us to go for. So we really need to get the stories from all the people, and we need help in reaching out to people who can add to this story. So I thank you for the suggestion, and we'll need more such suggestions. And I'm going to ask everyone who is participating to definitely take a look at the website, which is the islandspacefl.org. That's islandspacefl.org. Take a look, volunteer, things like that, get involved in us making this become a reality. Let's make sure that we are the storytellers of our history. Don't allow for us to in any way leave anything out. There's only but so much research. We have volunteers already working on the research, but we need more help, and we need more people who, even if you're not trying to help, just who can share their stories and their artifacts. You have grandpa and grandma's, old little thing in the corner in the garage, or in the basement if you're in a place that have basements, or in the attic. We want all those artifacts, and we need to be able to get to them. And the way to get those things to us, and we will, preserve and give certificate and so on to anyone who is sharing these old items, these old family heirlooms and so on. We will give you proper documentation for keeping it as a part of the museum until such time. And thank you for those who are participating in the space that there. I see people are posting the links. It's so important that we get people involved. And I really am going to ask that, you know, we are, you and I, Steve, are from English speaking Caribbean roots. I
Mhm.
want to get to those who are not from English speaking. I still want the St. Lucia and the Grenada and the
Mhm.
small English speaking as well, or the smaller. We're all small in the Caribbean. But I do definitely want to impress upon those who have heritage from the non-English speaking. So again, as I said before, those people will be critical for us because I don't have the same types of links and access to the people in that way. So just
and you
make
know,
it clear.
and something that I've always said, I don't know, I say all the time that our superheroes don't always wear capes, and we don't realize the impact that to us it may seem like nothing. Oh, my parents came here, they did blah 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 blah. Okay, but we don't realize the impact that our parents actually had. Our generation in the 70s and 80s, the ones that came here, and even the 60s, 70s, really, that came here and shaped, they helped to shape and mold this country, especially on the East Coast, New York, Florida, Georgia, those kind of places.
Absolutely.
We've seen so much. I mean, I don't know if you
You stopped at the 60s, but that doesn't include the people that are from
even
way
before
before
that,
then.
yeah,
The likes of Marcus Garvey, and we can go
exactly.
long before
And if
the
you want to go all the
contemporary.
way back, you could even go even on a Masonic level. You go all the way back to Prince Hall. who actually brought who brought it here to the United States. So we could go so far back. We could go back, but
Yeah.
but I don't know if you ever listened to Andy Enriquez. He is a motivational speaker.
I'm
Um,
very familiar with it. Yes.
and if you ever listen to Andy, his mom has an interesting story. She came here with literally nothing and built a
And
built
Andy
a
is
million
such an
dollar empire.
incredible storyteller. We need Andy to be included in all that we're doing because
Oh,
he's a
definitely.
storytelling master. So
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Andy and his wife Cassandra.
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I
They're
forget. You know, Cass too.
I
Yeah.
would say, they're both friends of mine. I've known
Yeah.
Andy for at least a decade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So there are a lot of people that have so many stories out there. I mean, and of course, I'll put you in touch with a lot of these people as well.
Thank you.
Over in
Appreciate that.
Pahokee, we have the former mayor of Pahokee, Colin Walks. He was born in Barbados, and he was elected mayor of Pahokee. Where he was actually running against a local person, and he was able to beat that person twice, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like there's so much history that we have here, and we have to celebrate our history because we have to let people know we're not just as the guy in the White House. I hate to about. I'm not going to put politics into this, but
Yeah.
as
Please
the guy in
don't.
the White House likes to say that we're just coming in and depleting resources. No, we are actually building a lot here.
Absolutely.
When you look at a lot of the restaurants and companies and everything that are owned by West Indians provide a lot of jobs. And like you said, not just the English speaking West Indian, but the Spanish and
Absolutely.
the French speaking as well provide a lot of jobs in this country. So these are definitely things to be celebrated. Um, I got a few people popping in. They're popping in on and I can see as they come in. Guys, don't just sit and watch. Participate. What
That's
questions
right.
do you guys have for David? I mean,
And
or
one of the things I'm gonna say, Steve, for
uh
those who are just watching, I don't mind people who are just watching if what they
mm,
do also is to share the information with others, whether it be to
definitely.
share this particular broadcast or just to share the information about Island Space, the work that we're doing, the project that we're talking about today, specifically the Ireland the Island Archives. Trying to merge two words into one is not a smart thing to do intellectually, but if they share the information, and we're asking that people give $10. So if you have it within your budget to give 10 US dollars, I would really appreciate. I mean, we'll take more if you can afford more, but we have a goal by the end of May, which is literally a week and a few days away. We
Hmm.
have a goal of $10,000 to raise because we're applying for a grant that requires that we have a matching portion of $10,000 achieved by June 1st. So we have to have it in by May 31st. And we need to get to 10,000. As of this morning, we were at about 6,000 of the 10,000. And so every $10 or $25 that someone can give would be wonderful. And yes, Franz, thank you so much. I would love it. Ask her to volunteer. Have her sign up on the islandspacefl.org website. We have a place there for volunteers. We would love it. People who are going to give us history, people are going to give us artifacts that represent the history, people that just want to be involved to help us make phone calls or just write letters to people who can give us these things. We
Because
definitely, without question, need everyone's help. This is not my project. This is our project.
And another thing that a lot of people don't realize too is when it comes to the history, even as far as abolishing slavery in the United States and in different countries, we have Haiti to thank for that. They were the first
Oh, they were the
ones.
first. Yeah.
They were the first ones to say, "Yo, hey, listen, this slavery thing is wrong, and we're not standing for it." So then everybody else started to fall in line after that. But I mean, they had their revolts. They had so much stuff that they were doing. They fought and lost a lot of people in that war in order to get freedom. And if they didn't take that first step, I don't think a lot of us would have.
And I
So
think a lot of what is also to be told in the history so that we can all properly understand what took place is that even in those times, even as much as up to today, we are sharing amongst each other in the Caribbean. So I know that there are Cubans that have helped Jamaicans, Jamaicans that have helped Haitians, and so on. And there's a
mhm.
lot of people who cross borders and cross countries to help in all these efforts. And I think that's a part of the history that we need to share. That it's
Right.
not just today that we can come together as a Caribbean, right, as a unified group. But we've been doing it for such a long time, and it isn't documented. So we're not aware of the history of how much we've collaborated and helped each other over the years. I know stories of many of my family members who have gone to the likes of Panama to help to build a canal there, and went
Exactly.
to Haiti and went to Cuba on different projects. And these are things that have been happening as a shared collaboration between the Caribbean nations for a long time. And this museum is going to be able to really document and share this with the world.
As a matter of fact, tomorrow I have a gentleman that's going to be on the on the show. He's in Spain, but he's from Cuba, and he has a documentary. A guy named Juan. He has a documentary that's coming out on Friday, and it's talking about how Barbadians and other West Indians as well, but his part was more about Barbadians that went to Cuba and helped to build Cuba and helped to help Cuba to become what it is. And there's still a lot of people there of West Indian ancestry. You have Jamaicans, you have people from St. Kitts and Nevis. You have so many different people from different areas that went to Cuba and built up Cuba. And that's one of the things that we're going to do. We're going to talk about his documentary and also about the impact that the West Indians had when they went over there. And like you said, Panama, I'm trying to do something with Panama as well, where I can probably get someone from there where we could talk about some of the West Indians and the contributions that they did for that country. But what really surprised him was when I was talking to him on the phone, and he was telling me, well, surprised both of us. He was saying that Cuba is predominantly black, and I was saying, really, a lot of the Cubans that you have here would say that they act like they've never seen a black person. And he was like, really? And he's like, he's from Havana, but he was telling me about the area where they had like the different pockets of people. But he said, yeah, the majority of the country, and even the ones that are light or white, would have black ancestors. And he gave me such a history, and I'm like, really?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, I can't speak as though I have a complete history on Cuba and a depth of knowledge, but I was in Cuba last year in 2019, and
Mhm.
and I can tell you, most of the people do look like they're from African heritage. So, absolutely, I said G right saying the same thing that she too. We were actually all there together at the same time,
Mhm.
myself and G right, and some of our close friends. We actually went for a wedding ceremony of some friends of ours, and so without question, we for sure can tell you that it is, it's a mixed group, and
Yeah.
definitely predominantly African. Again, by appearance, because heritage and roots. The different types of things that can happen. I mean, look at me. I mean, I
Mhm.
have four black grandparents,
Mhm. Yeah,
right?
yeah, you know how it is, you know. And the thing is, I mean, and then we started talking about food. They cook everything that we cook in the islands in Cuba. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy was telling me about the food that they cook and the different things, and I'm like, and he's telling me about different areas, and you got to watch the show tomorrow. You'll see, because I mean, now he's in Spain, but he's studying in Spain actually.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and you could just see the reach of this show too, because I have another guy that's going to be on tomorrow that's in Jamaica. I'm getting different people. As a matter of fact, there's a company in Jamaica, Orders, I think it's called. It's like a Uber Eats, like a kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, it's like a Uber Eats or a Grubhub, and I'm gonna have them on the show as well too.
Oh, that's wonderful. You brought something to mind now, Stephen. I want to say this too, because I've been asking people for volunteers and that sort. There's so many different levels of volunteers that we will need, and
Uh-huh.
we have an advisory council. So separate, the nonprofit itself has a board. So apart from the board for the nonprofit, we have an advisory council. And advisory council is made up of a lot of individuals that are from, you know, various backgrounds through the Caribbean. So I can't name them all, but we have people from the likes of Belize and from Grenada and from countries like this, from U.S. Virgin Islands and so on. We have Cuban, we have Haitians and so on. I can't list them all, We
Mm,
definitely need more people for the advisory council whose primary purpose, I mean, these are people, I hate to use higher as a level, um, but people who have experience with things that include archiving and library service and things that are relevant to a museum specifically. And if we
mm,
have others who have experience in those areas, people who are experts, people who have studied and have their their PhD or their post secondary, post tertiary, post master's level education in specific things of this nature. We need people like that. We do have some really heavy hitters already involved. Um, Again, I don't like to get into name calling because then you have to call one name, you call in everybody's name. But let me tell you, we have some very accomplished people already helping on the advisory council. And if there
mm,
are people who are at that level, again, I hate to say that, but people who have achieved certain things within this particular framework, then we would love to have those people join us as well. And so recommendations, please, everyone, I'm going to keep saying it, islandspacefl.org. If you can go there and just take a look around. We have multiple projects. The Island Archives, for which is a museum project, is our primary project at this time. But we have other projects. We have music documentary that we're working on. We have a photo project that we're working on. We're actually coming up with another book project of photography and so on. So I like how guests say hi to you and don't want to say hi to me. What kind of business is that?
I know. I made sure to put that one up because I knew you were going to say something. Hey, Kathleen, I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
It's all good, man. That's my lady right there. So
Yeah, Kathleen is awesome. I'm telling you, she is awesome.
she absolutely is. Yeah. But on a real tip, yeah. Again, if
Mm,
everyone could just understand, we have a team. It's a small team. Our board is like 10 people. Then beyond our board, the advisory council is not even 20 people more. And we're talking about trying to put together something that's going to tell the history of these multiples of countries. And I have to pause because unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, from my perspective, again, I'm being political, so I apologize. Not all the nations are nations. So not everyone has yet achieved independence from the various colonial countries. So some of the islands are still not even what I would want to say free. So,
right.
but all these histories and all these countries are still relevant and still
Mm,
very important to the story that we have to tell. So I look forward to everyone and getting all perspectives. Again, I can only exist in the space and the experience that I have, but we need to get all the voices and to get all the different, you know, thoughts about what it means to be living in a Caribbean island that is still, still has the, say for example, the Governor General or other leaders from the British
from England.
Empire and
Yeah.
so on. Like, we have a what do you call it? What do you call the one in Jamaica where it's like it's just a ceremonial position?
Yeah.
But there's somewhere these are real where they take orders from their governor generals and the like. And we need to have all these stories. So like I said, it's about the history and
Mm,
about 1,000 years ago and so on. But it's also about what's going on today and what happens tomorrow. So this is going to be the Island Archives that tells all parts and really celebrates all things that we've done with spectacular aplomb from the Caribbean.
mm. So then we're also going to be looking at some of the other things, like for example, like I don't know how much we're going to get into
I'm
the
open.
history, the history of Europe and over the islands. The
Yeah,
good and the bad. I'll put it to you that way.
and so this is why I keep saying we need to tell all parts of the story. We really don't want to paint a brush of good or bad. We just want to paint a brush of this is what took place.
This is the history exactly, and then
Exactly.
you make you decide what you think
Absolutely.
of it at that point.
Because I can tell you, I'm sure there's some people who have been, if you were born of one religion, you've been taught that another religion is not as
Right. It's not as
holy as
good.
your own.
Yeah.
In the same way, growing up in what I would consider a socialist environment in Jamaica, we had different thoughts about capitalism in a certain way, and then about communism in another way. And so these, even the political thinking of each of us is somewhat, designed by how we were raised and what we were experiencing. So someone may think, oh, well, communism is terrible, but then somebody in communism may think, well, it's great, and that other things are terrible. So
Right.
I don't want to put any spin as to what is right or wrong. It shouldn't be about that, but it should be about what took place. So, this was our history and something occurred, and then this was the direction that was taken based on these different things, and without a judgment to it. This is the history and this is the story. And so, yes, we want all of it. I mean, literally, we want to give the Arawaks and the Tainos and all these various groups their share of that history. We want everyone from the indigenous. I mean, there are books, there's information that tells us about Africans in the Caribbean before the slave trade.
Right. Yes. And
Absolutely. So
and a
so
lot of
these are the
people, yeah, even and even history before Columbus came and discovered it.
exactly.
You know.
Right. So there's a lot of things to be told because we want to just give as much accurate information about everything that took place and leave any spin to those who are receiving that information with their own understanding of what's taking place or what took place before.
All right, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And do you guys have a site already that you're going to put where this is going to be? Do you know exact? Well, not exactly, but do you know the area?
I wish we knew. We don't know for exact. I can tell you today is Wednesday. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with one municipality that is considering, making space for us. We've been in dialogue with a few other municipalities along the way. Where we will end up will depend a lot upon, what's
The
the
funding.
best type of space for us.
Uh,
The city or the county that's most hospitable to what it is that we're trying to do. And also, I mean, truthfully, in the end, what we want to have has to have a certain level of excellence that
mhm,
to achieve it, we have to have the right elements. We can't really take any shortcuts on getting to the right space. So we're in negotiations, we're in dialogue. We will have a temporary space before our, you know, crown and glory building that we build of our own accord. But
mhm,
but for the immediate, I would think it's likely that our first space would likely be in Broward County.
mhm,
And then maybe 3 to 5 years later, when we've been able to build our own fantastic facility, at that point in time, any bet could play because it could be in Palm Beach, it could be in Miami-Dade, it could be anywhere, it could be in Monroe County. I mean, I can't say where it will end up, but it will be based upon what works best for all parties involved.
And you know what's so funny that you just said Monroe County because down in Key West, there's a guy named Mr. Johnson and he has a store. He and his wife they do like conch salad and all kind of stuff. They're from he was from the Bahamas. He's from the Bahamas originally. He's been here, for many, many, many years. And this guy would tell you some history of Key West, and I didn't know we had that much history in West Indians had that much history down
We
there.
have history everywhere. I mean, no, and I mean this without
It's true.
without being smug about it. You can't go anywhere in the world and not find history of our people coming from the islands.
Right.
And then because of South Florida, I gotta say most props to the Bahamians. I'm not trying to take any favoritisms here, but because of proximity and because of the things that they have done, the Bahamians have been coming here from before South Florida was anything. I mean, they've been an
Yeah.
integral part of building this as it is. And I know for sure because I live in Broward County, and in Broward County particularly, the Bahamians were very instrumental in creating what is here. Um, Again, because I've worked with History Fort Lauderdale for a number of years now, we've partnered
Mhm.
in so many projects. You actually mentioned that we've been doing things before this idea, and we really have. So we have a long history of the things that we have been already doing with the people here. I love that. Tika Russell, the Bahamian Empress. I love that. But yeah, so the Bahamians have really been, very instrumental. And if you go to History of Fort Lauderdale, their history books and their archives will show the impact of the Bahamians in particular to the Fort Lauderdale area.
Yeah, I was actually at the Old Dillard Museum a while back, and they talked a lot about the Bahamian impact as well. And then I watched another thing on PBS, and they were talking about, and I can't remember the family's name, but they owned islands off of Key Biscayne. It's like those little islands that now are like where you have to pay like 10, $15 million just for the land, the piece, the little house spot. People, Bahamians own those little islands that now we see are part of, like Miami Beach and stuff like that. But I'm like, wow. I mean, when I saw it, to me, I love history. I don't care. I mean, I'm from Barbados, but I love everybody's history. I love to hear how things came about. I love to hear about the history in Jamaica and Antigua and all these different places. And a lot of Barbadians actually spread out to do a lot too, because we've had Owen Arthur was our former prime minister in Barbados, but before he was prime minister of Barbados, he was minister of something in Jamaica. I want to say minister of mining or something, but I can't. I don't want to say exactly.
Probably minister of troublemaking.
But
The Bajans who come to Jamaica to go to the University of the West Indies are always I'll say this about, the only thing that I don't like about Barbados is that it's too far. Why you guys gonna put this? You can't bring your islands a little closer up.
you know what? I'm gonna talk to the prime minister and see if we can move the island
Move
closer.
it
All
a
right?
little closer, man. It's just far. But
Yeah, because it's like 4 hours to get there by
man,
airplane.
I'm telling you, Barbados is
Jamaica's only an
amazing.
hour, and
But
Jamaica's
yeah,
like an
we
hour and 20 minutes.
hour and 20 minutes off the plane. It's like an
Yeah,
hour in the flight. But no,
yeah.
Barbados is far, brother.
Yeah, but that's the other thing too. A lot of people don't realize, the also the camaraderie we have.
Mm,
And it's a camaraderie and a rivalry when you talk about the UE system, because we have them in different islands, and
definitely.
it brings us together, but then it creates that friendly competition as to
Oh, it's
which one is
wonderful.
better.
It is
So
so wonderful. And
it's the
that's
love that we
why
have for each other.
I love my Caribbean brothers and sisters so much. Everywhere I go, I tell you, Steve, my bias is for the
Mm.
food. I love food so much. And everywhere I go in the Caribbean, the food is so amazing. I
Mm.
I went to Haiti just thinking, it's Haiti. Yo, the food is
Yes,
so amazing.
griot, dude.
Listen, what I like to eat the most is the street food, and I know that it's
Yes.
probably the most, unsanitary and the most terrible. But the food on the streets in Haiti is to die for. Likewise, what's the
Mm.
name of your fishing area in Barbados? What's that little village where all the food, all the fish and the people is
Oh,
made?
you're talking about Oystins, our whole town,
Oysters,
Oystins,
oysters,
yeah,
oysters.
Oystins.
Yeah. So you see, like just being there, like being in Barbados and being at Oyston. Listen,
Yeah.
I sat down on that strip and ate food like probably for days in a row. But I can tell you, every time we sat there, people driving by in the cars. I don't have any family that I know of in Barbados, and I'm
Mm.
there at Oasis and I'm eating, and people, David, people are like we're so connected. No, like people are like hollering out your name. It's like,
Yeah.
how is this possible? How are we so connected in this way? So it's like people know you. You feel like, I got off. Funny enough, when we got off the plane the first time I went to Barbados, and it was like, oh, I know you, you do, da, 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 and people like just know you, and it's like
Hmm.
this great camaraderie and stuff. It's so wonderful, and I can't wait for us to put this unified history and all of our cultures and heritage in one big museum to show off to the world how fantastic we from the islands are.
I'm telling you, it's great. As a matter of fact, this is one the guy that I just posted this thing. He's the director and the producer of the documentary
Oh, nice.
that's coming up. He's coming up on the show tomorrow. But yeah, but I'm telling you, it's awesome when you me. That's how I am when I travel. I don't want to go to areas that look like South Beach. I could go to South Beach when I'm here. I want to go to the little rum shop. I want to,
where everybody eats.
you know what I mean?
Anytime I go to any country, I'm like, where do the locals eat? Favorite? What's the
Exactly.
favorite spot where everybody eat? And the people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't want to go to the best name restaurant
Mm-mm.
that's fancy. I want to go where everybody comes together. I want to be in a place that the locals said that's where I eat lunch every day because it's
Yep.
both economical and just the best food.
Best
You get
food.
the real culture,
Yep.
and then from there you can find out where else to go because those people are going to lead you to what works for them. I never
Yeah.
want to go to the touristy spot. I want to go to where the locals say, "Yo, this is primo good food for us."
When I was in the Bahamas, a couple of times I went to the Bahamas, and I had food on the street. I had, as a matter of fact, one time the taxi driver took us to this lady's house that sell food. It was a Saturday, and we went there. We ate food, and then she told him to take us to somewhere else, and we went to this other place where these people make all kinds of, like, souvenirs and all kind of stuff. When I was in Jamaica, same thing, going up through St. Mary, I think it was, and these young kids, young boys, they're probably like 16, 17 years old. Three of them, they're doing roast fish, yam, all kind of stuff on the side of the road. I stop and eat with them. That's what I like. I don't want to
Yeah,
go somewhere and eat at a Red Lobster or not even a KFC. I don't want.
definitely not.
Come on, I
You
want to
know
see
what?
real food.
If I'm somewhere long enough, I
Mm,
want that too. It just won't be my first choice or my second choice.
right,
But if I get to spend 10 days or 3 weeks in a country, then I'll start exploring those other types of places.
right.
Actually, I was just thinking as we were talking, and again, I love exploring the Caribbean, but I remember being in Providenciales, um, that's Turks and Caicos Islands there. And in Providenciales, I remember just being blown away at how spectacular their beachfront is. And I was like, I'm from Jamaica. We claim to have, some of the best beaches in the world in the Grill, the 7 miles of white sand beach and all this stuff. And I go to another Caribbean island and get blown away by how
Mm,
spectacular it is and how beautiful it is. And the reason that island would stick with me is not so much just because of the beach. Because the beach is good and I love beach. I come from a beach island, but then the food,
mm.
what? Listen, man. Sometimes you get those fusions of cultures. So they have a lot of Haitians and Turks and Caicos because a lot of it's also close to Haiti. So a lot of the immigrants from that country there, and then the Bahamians are also there. So like you
Hmm.
get that blending of these cultures and the food.
Yes,
Ooh,
I know, right?
some of the most amazing food. Yeah.
I tell you, and then Margot was saying the rum shop talk is the best.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
man.
the only problem, Margot, is that sometimes you go to the rum shop, and then because of the rum that's in the people talking the story, even though it may be the best place to get an understanding, you also then need to have a good understanding of their dialect. Because when
Mm.
they drink the rum, it's not really English or any proper language that's coming out.
You need a
It's
translator
all the
sometimes.
slangs and even if I know my patois, I don't know the next country's version. Even if it's the same English speaking, when they're
Mm.
drunk and they under their influence, it's not always the easiest to document. But I agree, it's where people's inhibitions are reduced, and so they speak more freely about a lot of things, and that's
Yeah.
always a good vibe.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's like what we need to do too is the same program that you're talking about, with the history museum. We really have to see how we can actually, and I don't know, maybe find a way to take it on the road or something, because New York needs that too. Not just New York, but I mean, I could call so many places. Chicago
I,
needs it. LA
I
needs it.
agreed, and I'm gonna tell you this is where we have to somewhat temper expectations. And I say this not because I don't want to be on the road going all over the world. That would be a wonderful opportunity for me personally and for the history to tour. But we just did a 1 year tour. I'm not sure if you're familiar, Steve, but we did a tour of the culinary part of this. So we did the Caribbean Culinary Museum, and we did a 1 year tour of
Mhm.
Broward County. So we did the likes of Lauderhill to start. Then I believe we went to, I can't remember the order, but I know we were in Fort Lauderdale, we were in Pompano Beach, we were in Tamarack, we were in
I was at the one in Pompano.
oh, perfect. So,
Yeah.
for example, yeah, being at the Pompano exhibit, you would see that yes, it's great to have that and to show people, but the work it takes to break down and put up those shows and to wrap all the artifacts to keep them safe, and it took on average maybe 8 hours to just package the artifacts. And then you're talking about also, the trucks. We had to, had to literally rent the trucks with the lift gate to be able to move those museum cases in and out. And so it took its toll. We did this for 1 year within the same area that we live, and it
And
took
it was
its
a lot.
virtual toll. So to
Yeah.
start thinking of going, across the country and to different states, it's not that we won't get there, but to get there, we need to have the home base first,
Right.
build up what we're doing, and then maybe as more the value is seen by the likes of the National Endowments for the Humanities, and we start getting the larger grant funding in, then we can possibly tackle, taking the exhibits. I also reference, we do the annual food festival, Taste the Islands Experience.
Right.
We took Taste the Islands to New York and to DC in 2018, or was it 2017? I think it was 2017. I don't even remember now. And
Mhm.
again, the experience of taking your culinary, let's just say a 1 day event, and just taking that and putting it in another city is a very tremendous effort.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just would say I'll temper it. No, not that creating a big museum of the entire Caribbean is not also a massive effort,
Hmm.
but we got to take it in bite sizes. We can't bite off all of it, otherwise we're gonna choke.
Yeah.
And
Uh, and eventually, maybe you could create one in New York. You never know. You see,
maybe,
I'm throwing all
maybe,
these things out
yeah, I
there
would
for
say
you.
maybe also that's a work of another partner. Because funny enough, one of our board members had made a post recently about what we're doing here.
Hmm.
And as my sister said, and as that somebody made a post under that board member's comment under the board member's post, which was to say, why don't we first do it in the Caribbean and then you guys can do it in America and so on. My sister had a similar sentiment. She's like, David, I don't like what you're doing if we don't get to have this in Jamaica first. How is it you're gonna, or. So here's my thing. We will do our part. We live in South Florida. We're 1 in 4. The last census told us 1 in 4 residents of South Florida was born in the Caribbean. Born,
Hmm.
not
Not a
first and
descendant of.
second and right.
Right.
1 in 4 was born in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
With that, I would say we are in a very good place to celebrate the history of our roots in this
Yes.
space in South Florida. We would be happy to partner. As a matter of fact, a part of the mission and part of what we will have to do is to partner with all the Caribbean islands, all the tourism boards, all the library services to share the history. We don't want to go to Barbados and say, Barbados, give us all of your history, let's take it to Florida. But we need to be able to have shared items and shared linkages between what we're doing and what they're doing. And likewise, I would encourage others in New York and in Europe, in London, Spain, wherever, to create the same types of initiative, and then we can partner, we can share information, we can make it all easier for each other if we all collaborate on making this happen. But as for David spearheading creating this in New York, I am going to say again, I'm only one of the board members. I can't make decisions on my own, but I would think
Mhm.
that at this point, my vote would be not to add that to what we are trying to undertake just yet.
And England would actually be a good place for this too, because we came here, we were here for a long time. Whether we got here by a travel visa or whatever, but in England, people were going there freely because we were all commonwealths. So people were able to just hop on a plane and go. They didn't have to get a travel visa and overstay that 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, I actually hope for us that as we grow this, that maybe the next two versions of something like this occurs in non-English speaking primary places, because I think if we establish one in this English speaking primary, you know, in South Florida, you know, the Spanish language is a close second.
Right.
For some people, they think that if you don't speak Spanish, you can't live in South Florida. But I think you can exist here without Spanish.
Mm,
Um, but here we have a great mixture. I mean, look at the number of Haitians that are here in South Florida. Look at the number of Cubans that are here. I mean, it's a tremendous. It's in the, you know, it's millions. So
mm.
with saying that, I would hope that wherever else outside the actual Caribbean itself that we can, you know, do this type of project, that would be a place that also has that very, you know, I don't want to say melting pot because I don't want to get in an argument, but that similar type of melting pot of cultures and languages and people, so that it can be properly appreciated by, you know, by the places that host such a museum, separate from the visitors that will come to see the space.
Yeah, somewhere like France or Spain, because
Absolutely.
they have a lot of West Indians in those areas. And I mean, I didn't realize it until I started doing the show, and once I started doing it, I realized how many people we have in those areas that sometimes would send me a message or, hey, I was watching, or even when I look at my analytics, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, seriously,
But
yeah,
but
it's
but as
crazy.
as you're speaking, I'm thinking that when once you finish your terms, or I don't know if it's term or terms, I don't know how long you will be on the school board, but once you
Well,
achieve your school board uh, place, then I hope when that reign ends, that you will then consider being a part of our brain trust as well, and getting involved in what the you know, the nonprofit is doing with regard to the history of the Caribbean.
from your lips to God's ears, okay?
Well, here's what I would say. You're currently campaigning for a position,
Right.
and until you have some knowledge of it either occurring or not occurring, I'm going to assume that you're going to be successful. Like you said, we've known each other for many years, and
Hmm.
I believe that you're a guy that when you put your mind to something, you're typically going to achieve it. So this show is a perfect example. Like, you've not only created this show, but you've done it consistently, and it is not easy to continue to build content to provide to people. As someone who builds content for people, I am acutely aware of how challenging it is to do this type of thing,
It is.
and to do it consistently, and the efforts and research and all the things that have to go into creating this. So I laud you, and then I also say that without question, I expect your success at every level. And so yes, until it's not happening, I believe it is happening.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Let's see.
Absolutely.
G posted another comment here. Since we're Caribbean people living outside the Caribbean, preserving our culture and legacy is more challenging and in some way more important. But good idea to partner with each island. That's yeah, because each island, if they, as a matter of fact, you know what? Just to show you something, too. I don't know if you've been to Washington D.C. I'm pretty sure you have. You've seen the
Well,
Washington Monument. Because the Washington Monument, what a lot of people don't know is the bricks that they used to build the Washington Monument, when they started to run out of money and they asked the different states, the Masonic lodges in different states started sending bricks to build the monument. That's how they got it. From one brick from this lodge, one brick from that lodge, and that's how we do it. So by reaching out to the islands, and islands send a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe one or two things, boom, I'm telling you, this is going to be big. This is going to be great. I already know it's going to be great because I already know the kind of stuff that you guys do. You and I'm not sure if it's Khalib on your board.
Khalib is our executive director, so she's more
Exactly.
than a board. She's the one who runs the day-to-day operations. She's executive director.
And you know how Khalib is already. As she puts her finger to it, she's like King Midas. She just touches it and it turns to gold. She'll be Queen Midas in this case. She touches it and it
Absolutely,
turns to gold. She's awesome. Um,
absolutely.
Kathleen was saying that there's a list of black museums. Um, I guess it's blackmuseums.org. So I guess you guys are going to be on that list as well because we're going to have to. we have to teach the children to be proud of their culture. If not, then you know.
Absolutely, and I'll point this out, although it maybe it's silly to say. When I check for, the ethnicities, I check African American always. Funny in
Mhm,
this country, but I will want to, point out specifically. There's a lot of people from the Caribbean that don't identify as African American, and particularly to the ones who are from, again, if we go back to those ethnic groups that were there from the beginning, so the various different, Indian, whatever tribe or whatever group of Indians that existed,
mhm.
that is also for us to consider, because a lot of who we are going to be representing as Caribbean nationals are not considering themselves African American. I consider myself African American, but they don't. And so we have to be careful. We will be an African American museum too, because it represents people like me, but it represents a greater group than just African American.
Well, one of the other things too is we like when you look at a lot of the people that you're talking about that don't consider themselves that, it's because they may not have their citizenship yet, so they don't consider themselves American. You know what I mean? Because I've spoken to so many people that because they don't have that document, they may have a green card, but
Gotcha.
because they don't have that document, they're like, well, I'm not American yet.
But but
Well,
but
but
consider this then. Suppose someone considers themselves Taino, and so they're from the Taino group, and they have now moved to America, and so they be consider themselves Native Americans? No, because they're really native to a different country, so they may become American Indian or
mm,
American something, but it's not necessarily African in origin. Of course, that begs the question: well, is all people African from origin, and therefore should the Europeans also consider themselves African in origin? So that's political now.
right. But then we get into another topic too, because I used to work with this lady years ago, and her son, um, she's white, and they're from Africa, from South Africa, white. And
Is she African American?
but that's the thing. Her son checked that on the box, and they
Yeah,
told him
yeah.
not to. The person that hired him told him not to. That is a designation for black people only. And I'm like, but really,
But he's
he
from
is
Africa
African
and he's an American.
exactly.
I got you. Which is why I said we got to be careful how we how we designate things, because yeah, everyone's individual history and so on will make a difference to how they feel about their own boxes to check. Like
Right.
before recently, there was never an option for putting some Caribbean ethnicity as a part of your choices, and now they have it. So if I do have that, I will go African American and Caribbean heritage. So I love having that option, because African American alone does not define me,
Hmm.
but it is a significant part of who I am. Like I said, I have four black grandparents, so that does make me. I mean, well, maybe somebody else might look at them and say they're not black enough. I don't know, but we're not gonna get worried about that.
Hey,
His,
you know what? You know what the thing is? We have so much of a mixture in the islands. That's another thing that makes us unique. Because I mean, we have everything from Chinese to Indian to black,
all of
white,
them,
and
all
then
of
even
them.
when you talk about white, then you're going into the Irish and you're going to the we have
The
everything.
Middle Easterns, and I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
different
In
groups.
Barbados, we have one of the oldest Jewish synagogues in the Western Hemisphere. Who knew?
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like, and that's why your museum is needed, because we have to teach
Absolutely
this
needed.
history. We have to let people know that yes, we have these things. That
And
that means we are the foreparents of your culture. When you're talking to others, like some of the Jewish and others that didn't even think about it. If we have one of the oldest synagogues, that means we were one of the first ones to have Jews. And we have
yeah,
one of the oldest synagogues.
yeah. Unless they had somebody else building it that wasn't them, right? But you know what? Too in all of this, I think that we need to be able to have a true understanding of the people's need. And I think one of the best ways to get an understanding of that is for people to sign up to say they want to be a part of it, whether it be by making a $10 donation or by signing up to volunteer, or just
Hmm.
to be a part of what we're doing. And again, I'm going to encourage people to go to our website at islandspacefl.org. It's on the screen scrolling. You're so slick, Steve. You got this going. But yes, so if you see the website there on the page scrolling, it would be wonderful. Go and sign up to do and be a part in some way. It will allow us to share with funders and with other people how much this is needed. By you showing us that you want to be a part of it, it will
Hmm.
definitely allow for there to be this sort of full story. Hey, look, this is what we've collected. We had 1,000 donations in the month of May when we started to talk about the project. We have so many people signed up to be volunteers. This shows that this is something that's important to the people, and it's also showing that it is something that is needed, because we do need to convince people that this is actually, you know, um, we know that we need it, but we need to convince the others who are not in agreement with us that this is
Hmm.
needed. So we ask for everyone's participation. I know that our time is running very
Yeah,
short.
running really. But another thing too is we also have to, even when it comes to some of the African Americans that in North and South Carolina especially, and in Georgia, but more North and South Carolina, they'll be surprised at the West Indian history that built those two states. I mean, you'd be surprised at the history. When I went up there, and
I
they have a
never
dialect.
knew.
They have a dialect called Gullah, and Gullah is actually a derivative of the Barbadian dialect. And then they have also they have so much, dude.
Yeah.
We gotta talk because there's so
We
much.
gotta keep. We got. That's why I said you need to be. I need to see you volunteer when time allows. I know you have other things that are really important now, but when you free up a little bit, I need to see that you volunteer to and bring these parts of the history and the story that we need to share with everybody else.
Definitely. David, thank you very much. I appreciate you being on the show. As always, you brought a wealth of knowledge and information to us. And I invite you to be back again anytime that you want.
Be careful what you offer. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day, and I really appreciate the time and to help for helping to get the word out from my Barbadian brother, my Bajan brethren. We can go down the road. I love it, and thank you, and like have a wonderful day and all the success with your campaign. I really am rooting for you.
Thanks. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks very much for watching. Again, it's another great episode of Roundtable of Lunchtime Quickie with Steve. Roundtable was one of my other shows I did before. We still have a couple of G said, great interview. Thank you, G. Kathleen, she said, let's see. So we have a couple different, oops, hold on. Got to get my seat right here. Um, so I want to thank you guys again. Of course, it's lunchtime and my lunchtime is up. It's time for me to head back to work. My boss might be watching. I don't know. But definitely go to our website, go to islandspacefl.org, and you can always support what David is doing. Like he said, any donation is definitely going to be worth it. You name it, 5, 10, $20, $100, whatever you want to donate, it helps. It definitely helps. All right, islandspacefl.org. And of course, if you forget or if you miss it, you can always go to our site, which is lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com. We have information there about all of our past guests, and we have about what's coming up, the guests that are coming up. So please definitely check out lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com to see some of the things that we have going on. All right. Tomorrow we're gonna have Juan coming up. Juan is gonna be talking about his documentary about Barbadians in Cuba, and he's gonna be joining us from Spain. So we have a lot of different things coming up. All right. Sharon said she visited the synagogue years ago, and people in the Carolinas taught her a lot as well. There's a lot of history, and of course, we're gonna bring all that history to you as soon as when this gets up and running. We are gonna do a show straight from there. This way, we get to show you everything and encourage you to come down and see what's going on. All right. Celebrate your history. And if you guys have any information that you can give, definitely go to islandspacefl.org and, whatever information, the stories about your family, whatever, anything, put it out there. As always, I encourage you, take care of yourself, take care of each other, do a random act of kindness for a stranger. If you see someone that needs to get to the food bank to get something to eat, pick them up, take them if they don't have a vehicle. If you know of a food bank that's giving out food, let others know. Don't just hold on to the information for yourself. We got to help out each other, okay? You are your brother's keeper. All right, people. As always, I thank you very much. You guys have an awesome day. And
la